Meera Patel had grown used to the quiet hum of her suburban home. At 43, she had long since surrendered to the silence that followed her husband's death 5 years earlier. The days often blurred together, filled with routines she repeated without thinking. Work, groceries, cleaning, the occasional phone call with her sister. Life moved like a steady tide, never surprising, never stirring. That Saturday, however, brought a moment she could not have predicted. A knock on her door that would shift everything she thought she knew about herself. The doorbell rang in the middle of the afternoon, cutting through the sound of rain against the windows. Meera frowned, not expecting visitors. She had ordered a few household items online the previous week, small comforts she indulged in, but deliveries rarely came this late. Wiping her hands on a towel, she opened the door. A boy stood there, barely more than a man. He couldn't have been older than 19 or 20. His hair was damp from the drizzle, and his jacket clung to his lean frame. He held a package under one arm, his fingers curled tightly around it as though it carried more weight than its size suggested. His eyes lifted to meet hers, and Meera froze. There was something unnerving about them, dark, deep-set, and startlingly familiar, like a pair of eyes she had known long ago in another life. "Delivery for Mrs. Patel?" His voice was low but hesitant, carrying the softness of someone still finding his way in the world. "Yes, that's me." She accepted the package, her fingers brushing his briefly. His hand trembled slightly. She noticed. He seemed nervous, standing too stiffly, avoiding her gaze even as curiosity flickered across his features. "Are you all right?" she asked before she could stop herself. The boy hesitated. Rain tapped against his shoulders, yet he made no move to leave. Finally, he said, I think you knew my mother." Meera's breath caught. Her grip tightened around the package. "Your mother?" He nodded, his expression uncertain, as though testing her reaction. "Her name was Asha. She passed away 5 years ago." Meera staggered back a step, her heart thudding in her chest. Asha. The name was a key unlocking memories she had buried beneath layers of time and grief. Asha had been her closest friend in college, the sister she had chosen. They had spent nights whispering secrets in dorm rooms, making promises to never lose touch. But life had its way of separating even the closest of souls. Marriage, jobs, responsibilities, they had drifted apart. And now, to learn that Asha was gone. Meera's voice broke, and she pressed a hand to her lips. Tears stung her eyes. I didn't know she had." The boy's gaze softened. "She spoke of you. Even at the end, she told me that if I ever felt lost, I should find you. She said you were the only person she trusted." Meera felt the weight of the years pressing down on her, guilt swirling with sorrow. She had not been there for her friend, had not known of her struggles or her death. And now here stood her son, a living reminder of what she had lost, and perhaps of what she could still protect. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice steadying. "Arjun," he replied. The name suited him. Strong yet tender. She stepped aside and gestured toward the warm glow of her living room. "Come in, Arjun. You shouldn't be standing out there in the rain." He hesitated but eventually followed, wiping his shoes before stepping onto the wooden floor. The air inside was filled with the scent of cardamom tea from the pot she had forgotten on the stove. He glanced around the room with quiet curiosity, his eyes landing on the framed photographs on the mantel. Meera and her late husband, family gatherings from years ago, moments frozen in time. "Sit down," Meera said gently. "I'll make you some tea." Arjun obeyed, lowering himself onto the edge of the couch. He sat with the posture of someone unused to comfort, shoulders slightly hunched, hands clasped together. When Meera returned with 2 steaming cups, she studied him more closely. His features carried echoes of Asha, the curve of his lips, the sharpness of his cheekbones. But there was something else too, something uniquely his own. They sat in silence for a while, sipping tea. Finally, Arjun spoke. "She didn't have many friends. Toward the end, she was tired, I think. But she always told me about you. About how kind you were. How you believed in her." Meera's throat tightened. She remembered Asha's laughter, the way she had always dreamed bigger than the world allowed. "She was my best friend," she whispered. "I should have been there for her. I should have." "You couldn't have known," Arjun interrupted gently. "I think she just wanted me to find you. Maybe she thought you'd understand me better than anyone else." The words stirred something inside Meera. A connection, fragile yet undeniable, forming between them. She looked into his eyes again, those hauntingly familiar eyes, and felt a shiver run down her spine. Days turned into weeks after that first meeting. Arjun found reasons to stop by, sometimes delivering small packages, other times simply appearing at her doorstep with a shy smile. Mira didn't turn him away. She told herself it was out of obligation to Asha, a promise to watch over her son. But as time passed, she realized there was more to it. She looked forward to his visits, the way his presence filled the emptiness of her home, the way his laughter warmed the corners of her heart that had long grown cold. One evening, he stayed longer than usual. The power had gone out during a storm, leaving the house lit only by candles. They sat across from each other, shadows flickering on their faces. Mira found herself studying him, noticing details she had ignored before. The curve of his jaw, the intensity in his gaze, the softness of his voice when he said her name. "You must think it's strange," he said suddenly, his tone uncertain. "What?" she asked, startled. "That I keep coming back. That I feel something here. With you." Mira's breath caught. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. The truth was she had felt it too. An undercurrent of something unspoken. A tension that made her heart race in ways she hadn't experienced in years. But admitting it felt dangerous, forbidden even. "You're young, Arjun," she said carefully. "And I'm." "Don't," he interrupted firmly. "Don't tell me you're too old. I don't see you that way. I see you as someone who makes me feel alive. Someone I can trust." The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words. Mira's heart pounded, torn between reason and desire. She wanted to push him away, to remind herself of the years between them, of the impropriety of it all. But another part of her, the part that had been starved of affection, of closeness, of love, longed to reach across the space and touch him. She didn't. Not that night. But the seed had been planted, and it grew silently with every encounter, every shared glance, every lingering touch of his hand when he passed her a cup of tea. For the first time in years, Mira felt alive.